2019 marks the 200th birthday of Walt Whitman. His pioneering poetry is celebrated worldwide for its democratic outlook and a new, distinctly American style.
I think the first time that I encountered Whitman was as a high school student after having seen the movie Dead Poets Society and thinking, who is this voice that got these people so animated and inspired to change their way of looking at the world? And so I picked up a copy of Leaves of Grass and was delighted to lose myself in these long lines and something large enough to include every person in America and every walk of life.
I hear America singing. The varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing his as it should be, blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam. The mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work.
You feel alive in his words. It's not just that he projects you back into the past, into the middle of the 19th century. He projects you into the present, and then he projects you into the future.
I don't know how that man got there. I don't know what happened in his life that made him receptive to this kind of vision, but I think it's bigger than poetry.
Nothing in Whitman's early life signaled the greatness to come. Born in 1819 on a Long Island farm, his family was plagued with financial problems and moved often. Young Whitman eventually found himself in Manhattan. This is the city, and I am one of the citizens. Whatever interests the rest interests me.
He quit school when he was about 11 years old, got a job in a print shop. And that really was his education. And Whitman, starting as a journalist with these new newspapers that were coming up, exploring the city and the crowd.
His eye is looking. He's seeing characters, he's imagining. He's looking at a world that's not so unfamiliar. His voice is recognizable. He speaks the English we speak, of love, of longing, of praise, and who doesn't want to feel those things?
Walt Whitman, a cosmos of Manhattan the sun, turbulence, fleshy, sensual, eating, drinking, and breeding. No sentimentalist, no stander above men and women are apart from them, no more modest than immodest.
So the mystery of Whitman is, in roughly 1855 or 1856, this middling, busy, mediocre, half-educated journalist suddenly produces the most amazing and original poem in the English language with Song of Myself, in this little book called Leaves of Grass, which is going to grow into his life's work.
I exist as I am. That is enough. If no other in the world be aware, I sit content. And if each and all be aware, I sit content. So those are such simple lines. Even the brevity of that first one, I exist as I am, that is enough. These two statements that they assert a kind of authority. And then instead of rhyme, which we might expect in a poem of this age, we get repetition. So I sit content becomes a kind of refrain. I think it creates an emphatic underscoring of this idea that I am, and that is enough.
Whitman used a cut and paste method to construct Song of Myself, drawing from his notebooks and other fragments. The work continued to evolve until the final revision in 1881. Leaves of Grass, which included Song of Myself, was a work in progress until 1892, the year of Whitman's death. Many of his notebooks and other belongings can now be found here at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
So these are some of the wonderful things we have in the Walt Whitman collections in the manuscript division here at the Library of Congress, including Whitman's glasses and pen, but also his hand. And it's a wonderful plaster cast made of his hand in Boston in 1881.
I like the idea that whatever was speaking to Whitman also left an imprint on something like his cane. It's incredible. Think of him walking with this. Or on, the things that he chose to scratch out and replace in his notebook. I want to feel it, and it's exciting to imagine that maybe I'm closer to it if I'm holding the book that he wore at his breast. I am the poet of the body, and I am the poet of the soul. I go with the slaves of the earth, equal with the masters, and I will stand between the masters and the slaves, entering unto both, so that both shall understand me alike. I am the poet of strength and hope. Where is the house of anyone dying?
Whitman understood the responsibility of the poet to be a citizen. He says the duty of the poet is to cheer up slaves and horrify despots. He's speaking in terms of the poet's role as a citizen, the poet's role in making social change for the better, the poet's role in building democracy.
So he'd written this poem and then revised it and made it grow all through the 1850s. It was a period of optimism in American life. At the same time that the country was headed toward this disastrous civil war. And when it came, Whitman felt very identified with Lincoln and with the Union because that was the undivided America that he dreamed of. During the time which he wrote this beautiful and sad poems of the war, he almost every day visited the wards.
After his brother George was wounded at the Battle of Fredericksburg, Whitman hurried to the site to help care for him. Deeply moved by the experience, he would continue to volunteer in the military hospitals around Washington, D.C. for the rest of the war. He cared for thousands of patients, keeping notes on many, and often bringing small gifts to cheer them up.
Long, too long America, traveling roads all even and peaceful, you learned from joys and prosperity only. But now, now, to learn from crises of anguish, advancing, grappling with direst fate, and recoiling not. And now to conceive and show to the world what your children en masse really are.
Whitman is a poet of hope because he has seen the horrors of war. He is hopeful precisely because he has seen not only the sacrifices but the alternative to hope, which is despair.
I think in every generation of Americans since, Whitman has been there to be that figure to say there's a way for this imagination of a generous human polity that's based on our fundamental likenesses in body and heart and mind that we can make work.
That seed, that belief that Whitman kind of contains has kind of taken root. And it's coming up through all these different voices. I like that so many writers seem tapped in to that sensibility. Poets who are writing from immigrant perspectives, poets who are writing from Native American perspectives and saying, I belong to this thing that is America. I'm an extension of, an evidence of, the dream of America.
I bequeath myself to the dirt, to grow from the grass I love. If you want me again, look for me under your boot soles. You will hardly know who I am or what I mean, but I shall be good help to you nevertheless, and filter and fiber your blood. Failing to fetch me at first, keep encouraged. Missing me one place, search another. I stop somewhere, waiting for you.